All right, everyone, so starting at the top of our head, and you can just gently roll your head from side to side. And just see how your head and your neck feel today. And notice how your shoulders feel today. Paying attention to how your shoulder blades feel on the floor or in the back of your chair. And then moving down from your shoulders and into your torso. Just take a couple of breaths in this position and just notice how you feel breathing in this position today, how your chest feels, how your stomach feels, how your back feels. Moving from your torso and into your hips and paying attention to how they feel on the floor today, noticing if one side feels more settled or lighter or heavier. And moving down from your hips through your legs and all the way to your feet. And then we're going to start with some flattens and tilts again today to get our core warmed up. So we're going to start with the flatten. So you can go ahead and bend your knees and bring your feet to standing unless you're sitting in a chair. And we'll start with our flatten on an exhale. So we're going to do an inhale first. And exhale as you flatten your back to the floor or your chair, bringing your pubic bone up toward your ribs and your ribs down to your pubic bone. Hold for just a moment and super slowly release that flatten. Slow and smooth and with control. And when you've finished releasing, we'll do it again. So inhale first. And exhale as you flatten your back to the floor, bringing your pubic bone up towards your ribs and your ribs down to your pubic bone, squeezing in your tummy muscles. Hold for just a moment. And super, super slowly begin to release the contraction in your tummy. Slow and smooth. So you're back to your neutral position. And then we'll repeat that flatten again. Inhale first. And exhale as you flatten your back to the floor. Bring your pubic bone up and your ribs down. Hold for a moment and slowly begin to release. Slowly with control. Smoothly coming back to your neutral rested position. And make sure to rest when you've finished. And we're going to go into our tilt. And remember, it's always best to start this movement nice and slow, and you can increase the range of motion as you're a little more warmed up. So starting with an inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Hold for just a moment and exhale as you super slowly begin to release, letting your pelvis float back down towards the floor, smoothly with control. Make sure to rest when you've finished, and we'll repeat that same one again. Inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor as your low back arches off the floor. Hold for a moment, and exhale as you super slowly begin to release. And at the end of that release, make sure to rest for a moment. And we'll repeat that one more time. Inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Hold for just a moment. And super slowly releasing the contraction. Slowly letting your hips come back down to their neutral rested position. Good, and then we're going to put those two movements together now. So we're going to start with our tilt. So inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor. Hold for a moment and exhale as you super slowly begin to release the contraction in your hips and your back. Slowly letting your pelvis float back towards the floor. And at the very end of that release, going into a flatten, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs and your ribs to your pubic bone as you flatten your back to the floor. Hold for a moment and slowly begin to release. Slowly with control, releasing in your tummy muscles. Super slow and smooth. And at the very end of the release of your abdominal muscles, going back into tilt again, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, arching your low back gently. Hold for a moment and slowly begin to release. And at the very end of that release, going right into your flatten again, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs and your ribs to your pubic bone as you squeeze in your tummy, flattening your back down. And slowly begin to release. Super slow. And at the end of that release, you're going to rest. Good. So, Deanne, I see you just joined us. Hi. I'm actually going to get everyone to sit back up now. So you're going to roll to your side, though, first, please, and then come up to sitting. And we're either going to be sitting on a chair or sitting on the floor in... Oh, can't see my screen. Sorry. Hang on, everybody. Or you'll be sitting on the floor in this position here. So we're going to have the right foot in front of you, your right leg will be in front of you, and your left leg will be behind you. And if you're sitting in a chair, you can do that same sort of motion in your chair. You can have your right foot in front and the left foot just tucked a little bit back behind your chair, as long as you're still comfortable. Excellent. Everybody has their right leg in front. Great. So now you're going to rest your right hand on the floor beside you. And you can have a little bit of weight into that hand. Just don't put a ton of weight into it. So you can rest it slightly, just stay comfortable. And now your left arm is going to come up and touch your right shoulder. Yes, perfect. So we're going to start this movement. What you'll be doing is turning your torso, your head, and your eyes around behind you to the right. So when everybody's ready, begin to turn your torso, your head, and your eyes, turning fairly slowly, turning to the right, going as far as you can go comfortably. You'll notice that your left hip lifts off the floor slightly, and that's fine. And when you've gone about as far as you can go comfortably, I want you just to take note of what you can see. So mark something with your eyes. And now super slowly with control, bring your torso, your head, and your eyes super slowly back to the front. Once you've come back to the front, take a moment to rest and then repeat that movement. So turning your head, your torso, and your eyes to the right. Only as far as you can go comfortably. And then super slowly with control, coming back to the front again. Make sure you take a moment to rest when you've come back to your center position. And we'll do that one more time, turning to the right, your torso, your head, and your eyes. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably this time, you're going to pause for a moment. And then keeping your torso turned to the right, you're going to bring your head and your eyes back to the front. So your torso will stay turned, and now just your head and your eyes will slowly, with control, begin to turn back towards the front. And once your head and your eyes are facing front again, now what we're going to do is we're going to be switching those movements. So now your head and your eyes are going to be turning to the right, and your torso is going to slowly begin to turn back towards the front. So head and eyes slowly turning to the back, and your torso begins to slowly turn to the front. Head and eyes turning to the back, torso turning to the front. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, hold for just a moment, and then we're going to switch those movements. So now your head and your eyes will slowly begin to turn to the front as your torso slowly begins to turn to the back. And for anyone, Deanne, if you came in just a smidge late, if it's uncomfortable for you to sit on the floor in this position, you can do it sitting in a chair. When you've gone as far as you can go, everyone switching one more time again. So torso will be slowly coming to the front now, head and eyes slowly turning to the back. Now hold everything to the back for just a moment. And now keeping your torso and your head to the back, slowly begin to bring your eyes to the front. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably with just your eyes, you're going to slowly take your eyes to the back again. When you've gone as far as you can go comfortably to the back, holding for just a moment. And now you're going to bring your chest and torso to the front, slowly with control, and then your head and your eyes after. And when everything's back to the front to your center position, rest for just a moment. And now we're going to do a full torso turn again. So head, eyes, and torso all turning to the back. Turning to the right, your left hip will lift off the floor. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, hold for a moment And now I would like you to compare where your gaze is now compared to when we first started this movement. And now super slowly with control, turning your head, your eyes, and your torso back to the front. And then taking just a moment to rest, and then we'll switch sides. So your left leg will come in front of you and your right leg will go behind you, and your left hand will be resting on the floor or on the chair next to you if you're doing this one sitting. And your right hand will now come up to your left shoulder. We'll start with the full torso turn again. So turning your head, your torso, and your eyes to the back, only as far as you can go comfortably. And then find something to mark your gaze. Notice how far you've gone. And now super slowly with control, bring your torso, your head, and your eyes back to the front. And when you've gotten back to your center position, take a moment to rest. And then repeat that movement again, rotating your torso, your head, and your eyes to the left behind you. Your right hip will lift off the floor naturally as you do this movement, and that's totally fine. And slowly with control, bringing your torso, your head, and your eyes back to center. Take a small moment to rest when you've come back to the front. And then one more time, turning your torso, your head, and your eyes to the left behind you, as far as you can go comfortably. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, pause for a moment. And now keeping your torso turned to the back, you're going to bring your head and your eyes to the front. Super slow and smooth with control. Turning your head and your eyes back to the front. And once your head and your eyes are back to the front, pause for a moment. And now we'll switch these movements. So now your head and eyes will be turning to the left and your torso will begin to come back to the front. So head and eyes slowly turning behind you as your torso slowly turns forward. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, reversing the movement. So super slowly now taking your torso to the back as your head and eyes slowly begin to turn to the front. Torso turning to the back, head and eyes slowly turning forward. When you've gone as far as you can go, pause and reverse that movement again. So now head and eyes slowly turning to the back as your torso is slowly turning to the front. Slow and smooth with control. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, we'll switch it one more time. So head and eyes will slowly begin to come to the front now as your torso slowly turns to the back. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, pause. And then super slowly now, keeping your torso turned to the back. You're going to turn your head and your eyes to the back now to match the torso. So torso stays behind, head and eyes slowly begin to turn to the back. Slow and smooth. And now super slowly bringing just your eyes to the front. So torso and head stays to the back. And now just your eyes are going to come forward. And then super slowly, take just your eyes to the back again. And then super slowly bring your head, eyes, and torso back to the front. Slow and smooth. Eyes, head, and torso all coming back to the front. And take just a moment to rest. And then we're going to check how our progress on this side. So we're going to do the full turn now. So bringing that arm up again, if it's comfortable for you, your hand will be touching your shoulder, and turning your torso, your head, and your eyes now to the back. Torso, head, and eyes turning to the back. And when you've gone as far as you can go comfortably, pause for a moment and just notice where your gaze is. Check if it's in the same place or if it's further. And now super slowly with control, bring your head, your torso, and your eyes back to the front. Super slow and smooth. And when everything is back to the front, you can slowly go back into your laying on your back position. Make sure not to rush. So we'll be laying flat again with our knees bent, or you can do these movements staying in your chair. That works as well. And we're going to do elbow to opposite knee. So we're going to bring the right hand up either behind your head, or if it's not comfortable there, you can find another spot to put it. Left arm will be long beside your body. And we're going to start with our inhale and arch. So inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Press your shoulder blades down gently. Tilt your head back. And now super slowly with control, exhale as you release the contraction. Super slowly releasing the contraction in your head, in your neck. And when you're at the end of that release, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs to your pubic bone as you flatten your back to the floor. And now lifting your head, your chest, and your right elbow, bringing it towards your left knee. And at the same time, you can bring that left knee up. Hold for just a moment and super slowly release. Now slowly letting your foot come back down to the floor. Slowly with control, lowering your head. Always challenging yourself to go slower and smoother. And once your head is resting on the floor comfortably, you can slowly let your elbow open. And when you've released everything, make sure to take a moment to rest. And we're going to repeat that same one again. Inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Press your shoulder blades down gently and think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back and let your jaw open softly. Exhale now as you super slowly release this contraction. And just in case it wasn't clear, and I'm only saying this because someone asked me in town yesterday if they were supposed to be balancing on their head. No, you are not. It's a very small tilt, and if anything ever feels like you're doing some sort of balance or pose, that is not somatics. This is very gentle. No balancing, definitely no headstands. When you finish that release, going into your flatten, bring your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone, lift your head and chest, and bring your right elbow and left knee towards each other. Hold for just a moment and super slowly release. Slowly lowering your foot back to the floor, slowly lowering your head and your chest, super slow and smooth. And once your head is resting comfortably, slowly begin to let that elbow open. And Auntie Linda, because you're doing this one sitting in a chair, I feel like maybe if you brought that hand up and put it, like maybe just hold it in front of you. Can you see my arm now? Oh no, you can't yet, hang on. Like this maybe instead of here, because I feel like that might be hard on your shoulder. You could try the same movement with your hand here, yeah? All right, one more time on that side, everybody. Inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Pressing your shoulder blades gently. Think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back. And now slowly exhale. Slowly releasing the contraction in your back. Super slow and smooth. And at the end of that release, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone. Lift your head and chest gently, bringing the right elbow and the left knee towards each other. Pause for a moment and super slowly release. Slowly with control, lowering that foot, lowering your head and chest. When your head is back to the floor, slowly opening the elbow. And when you finish that one, you're going to switch to the other side. So your left arm will come up behind your head and your right arm will be long beside your body. We'll start with our inhale again. Inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone forward and down towards the floor. Press your shoulder blades down. Think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back. And now super slowly with control, exhale as you slowly release the contraction in your back. Slowly release in the back of your neck. Slow and smooth. And at the end of that release, going into flatten as you bring your pubic bone towards your ribs towards your pubic bone, and you lift your head and chest gently, bringing the left elbow and the right knee towards each other. Hold for a moment, and super slowly, with control, releasing back towards the floor. Slow and smooth as you can. When your head is back to the floor, slowly releasing that elbow. And take a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again. Inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor. Pressing the shoulder blades down gently, drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back. And now super slow with control. Exhale as you slowly release the contraction in your back. As slow and smooth as you can, releasing in the back of your neck. And when you're at the end of the release, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone to ribs, ribs to pubic bone, lifting your head, your chest, and your left elbow, bringing towards your right knee. Hold for a moment and super slowly begin to lower back to the floor. Super slow with control. And once your head is resting, slowly letting the elbow come down. And take just a moment to rest. And now we're going to do a full arch and curl. So you're going to bring that right arm up behind your head as well. For anyone who has shoulders issues, we have tried doing the hands coming up over the forehead. So if that's a more comfortable position for you when you bring the elbows together, you can do that too. So inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, pressing your shoulder blades down. Think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back gently. Pause for a moment. Exhale now as you super slowly release the contraction in your back, as slow and smooth as you can. And at the end of the release, going into flatten, bring your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone, bring your elbows together and lift your head and chest into that soft curl position. And hold for a moment and super slowly lowering your head back down to the floor, as slow and smooth as you can. And once your head is back to the floor, super slowly with control, bringing the elbows back down. And once your elbows are back to the floor, take a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again. Inhale and arch as you roll your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Press your shoulder blades down. Think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back. And this time let your jaw open softly. Hold for just a moment. And now exhale, super slowly, releasing the contraction in your back, slowly releasing in the back of your neck, slowly releasing in the shoulders. And at the very end of that release, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs and your ribs down towards your pubic bone. Bring the elbows together and gently lift your head and chest into that soft curl position. Hold for a moment and super slow with control now. Paying attention to your abdominal muscles as your head is lowering, going as slow and smooth as you can. And once your head is back down to the floor, slowly with control, bringing the elbows back down to the floor. And once your elbows are down to the floor, we're going to repeat that one last time. Inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down into the floor. Press the shoulder blades down. Think of drawing them towards your tailbone. Tilt your head back. Let your jaw open softly. Hold for a moment. And now exhale, super slowly releasing the contraction in your back and in your pelvis, slowly releasing in your shoulders. Slow and smooth. And at the end of that release, going into flatten as you bring your pubic bone towards your ribs and your ribs to your pubic bone, flattening your back to the floor. Bring your elbows together and lift your head and chest into that soft curled position. Hold for just a moment. And now super slowly, with control, lowering the head back down to the floor. And then slowly letting those elbows open. Super slow and smooth. And once your elbows are back down to the floor, take a moment to rest. And then when you're ready, we'll go back into our scan position. So you're going to lay your legs as they were when you did your first body scan today. So if your legs were bent, then you'll keep them bent. And if your legs were long, you'll put them long. And we'll start at the top of our head. So go ahead and just roll your head gently from side to side and notice how your head and neck feel now compared to when we started. And then moving from your head and your neck into your shoulder blades. Think about how your shoulder blades feel now, how they feel against the floor, and how they felt when we started. And now moving down through your arms, noticing how your arms feel now. And then coming back into your torso and take a few breaths and pay attention to how your breathing feels. How does your chest feel? How does your ribs feel? Hopefully you'll notice a little more movement in your body as you're taking these breaths now compared to when we first started today. And moving down through into your belly and your low back, and noticing how your back feels and your hips. And moving down through your legs and all the way to your toes. And when you're ready, without rushing, you're going to roll to your side and come up to sitting. I'm going to unmute everybody. And we'll go to our gallery view.